Hi guys, and welcome to the first Margarette video ever. Okay, so as you guys can probably see, I have a little microphone. I thought this would be cute for the first video, and maybe the rest of them, I don't know, who knows. But I'm currently at the park, because I feel like this has been such a nice little place for me to touch grass, get along with nature again. But yeah, so as you guys have probably seen the title, today's theme is change, and I feel like this was probably the best topic theme to do for this video, just because I really wanted to start making content that was more aligned with what I want to put out there and my creative interests. So yeah, tiny mic, Marg in the park. Okay. I'm gonna try my best and hold on to the mic. I'm just like looking around everywhere because this park, for it to be like a suburbs park, it's really empty. Like there's not a lot of kids that go to this park, and this is one like right next to my house, so it's very interesting. But I have my little journal, and I figured that I wanted to write a couple ideas down. Like I know that some people kind of planned theirs ahead of time, but I was really inspired by a lot of the video essays that I saw on YouTube that I watched like all the time, and I kind of wanted to start doing that. Not only that, but maybe that, I don't know, we'll see. But considering that the topic is change, I kind of want to give a little background as to myself and why I am the way I am, I guess. I don't know. I feel like this is harder than I thought. Oh my gosh, like I write a lot of things down, and like talking about it out loud kind of just makes me like, whoa, okay. Anyways, as I was saying, self-actualization and like self-discovery has always been something that's been very important to me. I feel like it really started, I would say, like when I got to high school. Like in middle school I was very carefree and I didn't really think about things, but then when I got to high school, I think just that time of like when you're transitioning from middle school to freshman year, you really start to put things together in your head, and maybe that's like quote-unquote adulting, but I think for me I wanted to start prioritizing myself rather than just like being so focused on, like socializing and those really like young ideals. I don't want to say young because I'm still pretty young, but I guess when it came to high school, like, and you're starting to figure things out and like what you want to do in your life, you definitely start to view certain things differently than you would have before. So yeah, I guess that's just like the one thing. But okay, let me get into it now. So I feel like over these past couple years, like I've changed so much as a person, and a lot of that can be attributed to like I guess the dynamics of my life. Like I'm never like alone, but I feel like with how I was brought up and things, I just think that when you have so much time to yourself, like you really start to find comfort in the company of yourself, and you really start to put effort into like understanding yourself and understanding like what goes on in your mind. So I'm kind of sidetracking right now. This is like so scary, but I'm gonna keep on going anyways because whatever. So I have everything here in my doodle. Anyways, okay, so the main thing that kind of like prompted this whole change thing is that all of my life I've lived in the city, so very like urban, rural settings, and I've never not lived in the city. So to move from living like 17 years of my life in the city to the suburbs is something that's just like so crazy to me. Like I remember when I was younger, like I would always want to move to the suburbs because I kind of always romanticize that. Like you ever watch like those coming, oh my god, there's a freaking oh my, maybe this is a bad idea filming at the park. Anyways, but when I was younger I used to like romanticize a lot of those movies and videos. Like I used to watch like what's called 7 Supergirls, and there were these girls who used to live in the suburbs, and I was just obsessed with that. I was like, I love that. Like it's so quiet, and they do their little like bicycle routine, like biking to school and like meeting up with their friends like in front of their house. I thought that was so sweet. Like I keep on saying the city. In the city, you don't really like. I feel like the living dynamics in the city is definitely different from like when you're living in the suburbs, just because of the fact that like everyone's so close together and you kind of like run into mainly everyone you know. And the part in the city that I was living in, like everyone kind of knew everybody, if not through like social media or like through family friends, like everyone kind of knew everyone. But here, I just feel like when we first moved here, I was definitely only talking to the adults in my neighborhood, like a lot of like the elderly people in my neighborhood. It was really funny. Like I wasn't really talking to like a lot of the kids, because a lot of the kids in my neighborhood for some reason are really young, and it's so funny because there's this like bicycle crew that hangs out outside of my house, and I have a bike now and I love it so much. Like I think it's like promoted my sense of freedom around here. But yeah, they always hang out. They're probably like a group of like 8 or 7 year olds, and they're all so cute. But they all look at me like she's so lame. Like she can't be with us. Like okay, rude. Anyways, what was I even saying? Yeah, so life in the city, comparing that to the suburbs, is definitely interesting. Like it takes a lot of adjusting too. I'm also an incoming senior, so that's another thing that's kind of crazy. Um, like I never really expected to leave my school, or I never expected to have my high school career, my high school life turn out this way, because I kind of like when I envisioned high school, I always envisioned like, oh, like get through 4 years and go to college and do everything like after that. But I think that ever since, even like long before this summer, I feel like I've just been kind of wanting to know more about myself and finding my own aspirations and my own wants in life, rather than just kind of like living up to these like false ideals that everyone kind of has been. I mean, like another thing that I was thinking about was how we all kind of like live our lives under this expectation and this like strict trajectory of how it should be. It's like when you're younger, you're raised to go to school, and then after like you do well, you go to college, and after you do well in college, you go and get a good job, and then after that, like what's next? Like that's like I feel like before I've just been looking at life so flat and not being open to like new opportunities and like actually taking autonomy in my life. That's like I feel like that's like one of the most beautiful things about life is that it's autonomous and it's yours. Like you aren't supposed to live for everybody, for anyone else, really. Like it's not to say that you shouldn't offer empathy and you shouldn't be, you know, empathetic to other people, but it's more like you should also learn to follow the extent to which you can continue doing that. I mean, I know for a while for me, like it's not that I wasn't being a genuine person, so to say. I think that I just always had this issue where I was always either wanting to fit into this bubble or this stereotype of people, and it did get me to the lifestyle that I wanted. I mean, during that time, like I was very, I don't want to say that's not the right word for it. I was thinking of something else, but I was very calculated with how I did things, and not to the point where the things that I were doing but like my actions were always just like thought out first. It's more like I was just like living in this bubble of somebody that I was at the time, but it wasn't reaching my full potential. And I feel like the person I am now and the person I'm growing to be now is kind of like getting towards like where I want to be at that time, or at this time. Sorry, I've been like looking at my thing, because one thought I have right now is like I need to redo this entire video, but I don't want to do that because I feel like that's like not a good start to like why I'm doing this. Okay. But yeah, I feel like just like as a person, you do so much growth in your youth, and this is such like a pivotal time, like before you get to college. And obviously college is like an expansion of the opportunity for you to grow and become a person that you want to be, not what others want you to be. So that's definitely really important. for me, I just think changing your lifestyle sometimes is what's necessary. Not essentially like it's the only way for you to kind of like change the way you want to go about things. Because before, I read a book called Atomic Habits, and that's like a really popular productivity book, and I really liked it because it talked about habit building instead of like setting goals and kind of like waiting in the in between to complete them. Um, so before, when I was attending my old school, I was definitely very like habit oriented, and I was always completing these little things, but at the same time having like a really bad perspective on it as well, which is why I reread it like over this past summer, and I wanted to kind of like gain a deeper perspective on it. Um, I think that a lot of the time when we talk about fixing habits and kind of like breaking really bad ones, you're kind of stuck in the thought that once this happens, like I'll be better, like I'll be like a perfect person. And that's the way that I thought about it for some time, like even with like physical appearances as well. Like I kept myself to this like clean girl aesthetic. Like I don't know, that's like I don't know, it's kind of like I don't know, it's just really quick pause because I like I this is so hard to do. Like I see those videos and I'm just like, dang, I could do that. It's so easy. Like talking to myself here. It's harder than I thought. So credits to all those people who do this and like record podcasts and make video essays. Another thing that I've been thinking about lately is the kind of vision that I have for my future. Obviously, like I was talking about it earlier, like at this age, like that's like where you're trying to start like figuring things out and like getting to know yourself better. But I also think that sometimes you're kind of put in environments that you shouldn't have to be, where you're kind of putting that at a lesser importance than it should be. And obviously, it's not to say that you can't still self-actualize and do all these things to improve yourself, like by like when you're alone. But I also think that sometimes, even though leaving something is very difficult for you to do, like, and it just goes to show in like relationships and just really like anything, like relationships, lifestyles, workplaces, like anything that you feel that you should walk away from that would happily or better your mental health or your ability to introspect. I think that those are actions that should be taken. And a lot of the time for me, I guess, like I've always had this perspective that life is much bigger than just you. Because if you really think about it, like generally, like from a like philosophical viewpoint, like we are these literal tiny beings on this entire universe, and sometimes when problems come in our way, we think that it's like life altering, it's like world ending, and that's really difficult to say when it depends on the circumstance. But I think for me personally, I was taking like really small things that were changeable, like that I could have taken into my control and like changed, and I was making it like my entire being, which was really unnecessary. Like really like small problems that could have been solved. If you can think of a solution to something, it's not worth stressing over or worrying about as much as you want to. And for me, I still have to fix that about myself, like personally. Like I really want to be somebody who doesn't not stress, but doesn't stress over really tiny and things that are really just should not be affecting your mental. Back to the universe point, whenever I'm in like situations where I don't really appreciate being in, I always imagine that like we're on this kind of like jumbo little like Milky Way. Like when I was younger, I was so obsessed with the Milky Way, like I'm not even gonna lie, like it was something that like intrigued me so much, like, and not the candy bars, but like the Milky Way itself. Like I used to imagine like myself at the center, because I thought I was always like the center, I don't even know, the world revolves around me type thing. But obviously it doesn't, and that takes time to understand as you get older. But it's really crazy to me how there are so many parallels and possibilities to what can really happen in life because of the decisions that you make. And obviously, I feel like before you make decisions, it's tendency of everybody really to kind of like assume or kind of like raise expectations for the outcome. But I've learned to kind of stop doing that sometimes. I think that a well thought out decision takes a lot of your personal input, yes, but also if you think too much about the potential outcome of it or what's going to happen, it'll kind of deter you from doing it in general. Like me moving to the suburbs was something that was completely in my decision, like it was in my control. But, you know, that also takes a lot of like consideration and, not being able to like do certain things and see certain people. Like all your decisions in life have to take a lot of time and effort and thinking, but it's the ability to truly think for yourself that will really get you somewhere. And it's not to say that you shouldn't consider others who may be involved in your life or who may get impacted by your decision, but it's more so that if you're choosing something for yourself and you're choosing to put yourself forward for like the first time in a really long time, then it's a decision that's worth making. For me, I feel like I'm definitely the type of person to always put people in front of me, and it's not like I'm not trying to be like I am just so good at like caring for other people. Like I'm so selfless. Like that's not what it is at all. I think that just for the longest time, when you continuously do that, it kind of gets to the point where you start to lose touch with yourself. Like the way that I imagined it before, kind of like visualizing it, is like you're standing in a line like somewhere to get something that you really want. Okay, something that you really want, and like all these people keep on asking if they can go in front of you, and you just let them because I don't know, you just let them, and that's what I thought I was doing. Like I was just putting people in front of me all the time, and then when you think about it that way, you realize how far you're pushing yourself back, and that's something that shouldn't happen or shouldn't need to happen. This sun is so bright. I keep on looking if there's like anyone like by me. I should feel like I should move to the shade. This is like really bright. Okay. But yes, it takes a lot of time to put yourself forward. Like it takes so much time, and I feel like whenever I meet someone or whenever like my close friends and my family like always tell me that I'm a very mature person for my age, and sometimes I'm not gonna lie, like I worry that I'm a little too mature for my age. I don't want to say mature, but I feel like I think a lot about things, like really random things, like not just like my mental health, but I just like think a lot about things and things. Oh my god, I keep on saying things, but the things that happen in life and just getting a greater grasp on it to the point where, like for me, I think about it, I'm just like, no one my age is thinking about this right now. Like, you should be worrying about this. You should be discovering this when you're like 30 or 20. Like, that's the time. But in another way, I feel like it's also been kind of a gift to kind of understand things at a greater standpoint than just you. Another thing that I always talk about with my sister, my family, like literally everybody, is like being able to step outside of yourself and seeing things from a perspective that's outside of your own, and not to confuse that with like stepping in someone else's shoes, like generally like stepping out of yourself, like astral projection, like not really astral projection, but more like just being able to step outside of yourself and kind of look at the world from a viewpoint that's just a viewpoint, if that makes sense. Like, oh, that's like really confusing. But like there's this thing I was thinking about too, that there are so many people like on the earth, and everybody, if you think about it, everyone has their own lives and deal with their own things. Like I think that's so crazy to me. Like each time I think about this, I'm just like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, excuse me. Oh, like there are people in the world who aren't you. Crazy. And it's not to be like, that has nothing to do with ego, but it's more like people, there are so many lives that are just like intertwined, and so many feelings and emotions that are being felt like across the world, and probably experiencing like similar things, because nothing is ever truly unique in terms of situation, I feel like. Which is also another thing that's helped me, is that like over the years, when you have an issue and then you start to think of it like, wait, I cannot be the only one dealing with this right now. Like, I cannot be the only one who has felt this before. But just being able to step outside of yourself and look at things just as looking at things. That's probably really confusing, and I hope that I got my point across. But I just think that being able to take a greater view on the world and how life kind of works around us, that's another thing I want to talk about as well, is that for a lot of people, including me, kind of going back to the structures thing, I feel like I'm like jumping around topics. This will get better with more videos, I promise. But in terms of like life structures and feeling like there's like a strict trajectory on how life should go, I generally think eliminating that mindset has helped me so much. Like, I've been starting to think of doing things that I've never like thought of doing in terms of like my future, like, and preparing for my future. Like, for the first time in a long time, for the first time, I actually considered taking like a gap year after high school and kind of like wanting to move to the city and doing things that are like creative and like add to the passions that I have in life. And prior to this, like, I genuinely only ever thought of college. Like, it was like, I feel like given like my family dynamics, like when you're raised in a household full of like culture and just such like successful values, and obviously to an extent that can be really good, but I feel like at the same time that kind of also restricts your potential and your ability to kind of like grow into yourself. But just being able to like think of the possibility, the potential of a gap year was actually like, whoa, like, I pat myself on the back. That was amazing. But yeah, I just think that like when you start to like have the thoughts of being able to choose things and being able to change your life and kind of align it to the certain lifestyle you want, I think that's like so commendable and so admirable. Because I remember when I was younger, I'm not gonna lie, I used to be like, not going to college, that's crazy, like I would never do that. And obviously for me, I personally would always want an education. I just think that a gap year and filling that time with like experience and work and learning more about like life and yourself, I feel like that'd be so, just like so truly fulfilling, like, and that could reflect better for me personally in the long run. But obviously that's not how everybody wants it. There was a book that I read called Women Who Run with the Wolves. So good. Such a good book. It was talking about like the wild woman archetype and being able to kind of find tune with your intuition again after a long time. And I just thought like, wow, like that is so crazy to me, because people really hate on like things that they just do not want in their life. Like, if there's a certain lifestyle that you don't have, like all of a sudden it's like something that you look down on or that like shouldn't exist. To me that's crazy, because like, as I said before, like everyone is living, and this is everyone's first time living. This is no one's like second or third time, unless you believe in like reincarnation, stuff like that, which I genuinely believe. In the past I was either like a jazz singer or an animal of a sort, or I don't know, I always say that I was a jazz singer. Who knows? But like genuinely everyone's doing this for the first time, and no one knows how to do life. Like, there's not a person who can genuinely say that they know how to do everything. I feel like it's kind of crazy, like I know everything type thing, because genuinely life is all about learning and gaining more experiences and learning from those experiences. Literally every day is a learning experience, and all you ever do is like kind of move forward with it. And I feel like instead of just watching it pass you by, you should be able to like live within it as a person, as yourself. And that's something that's so very important to me. I just think that we so often forget that this is our life, and no one should be able to dictate, how it should go. And I know that can be really difficult, because obviously there are people who will be giving you advice and will be telling you like how to live your life because of the fact that they believe that that's the right way to go about it to them. But obviously if it's not to you, you have the full autonomy, you have the full choice to decide like that's not how I want to do things. But I also kind of want to go into my journal thing. There's gonna be a lot of pauses in this. Like, I bet there's so many pauses already. I'm so sorry. I just feel like I'm gonna look back at this while I'm editing. I'm like, girl, that sounded so terrible. Like, that does not make any sense. But another thing that I feel like I can compare this to is a game called Life is Strange. Like, I don't play games, and this is the only game that I've ever played in my entire life. Like, that full, like, finished the entire thing, and I was obsessed with it. Like, genuinely, that game gave me so much, like, fulfillment. I felt so accomplished when I finished it. Like, I was shocked. It was one of those, like, I don't know if you guys know the game Life is Strange, but it was basically, like, you make a decision for this person who has powers, and they can kind of turn back time, and like things can change, and like all that, like everything you do, this action will have consequences, where it's like number one like quote that like the first time I saw that I was like, what do you mean? Like, I know that, I'm sorry. But yeah, I was just like, that game really got me hooked on, because it made me realize that everything you do does have an effect, and I love that. Like, there's so many possibilities to life, and I think when you look at it that way, it becomes something more beautiful rather than something not to look forward to, if that makes sense. Like, you just kind of go on to your day to day, like making decisions, like even like my choice of like waking up at like 7 a.m. this morning, and like going and making myself a matcha, like whatever it may be, like these things alter what happens afterwards. And I think that's really cool. Like, I know it's like normal, but for me that's like amazing. So it's just to place emphasis on, when you make decisions for yourself, things will always eventually have an outcome that you may like, you may not like. Okay. But another thing that I feel like has been so important for me in my life is getting a journal. Like, my sister gave me this journal. It's just from Muji, and I feel like writing down your thoughts, and if you're a person like me who thinks a lot about things, thinks about a lot of random things, and just has these thoughts kind of like circulating in your head, you need an outlet to put these down in. And obviously this is like, my channel's gonna be something that's somewhat of an outlet, but I also think that having like a genuine outlet that you can look back on and read again, I think it's so awesome. Because for me, like, I've been writing a lot in my journal, and before I used to always like romanticize like having a journal, which is why I feel like I wasn't super like inclined to write in it, because oftentimes like I would find myself like watching those TikToks with like, what's it called, like aesthetic like bullet journaling, and like little doodles of like really nice looking journal entries. Like, girl, no, like my journal is literally like so messy, like just so me. I keep on hating myself. I'm not messy, but it's just, everything here is just so raw and honest and vulnerable, which is why, like, if this ever landed in the wrong hands, I'm done for. But like, honestly, maybe I'm not done for. I feel like they would just gain a lot of like really good lessons in life. So maybe someone will get, I don't know. Okay, girl. But writing in a journal genuinely helps me so much. Like, for anybody, I feel like everyone deals with their own mental health differently. But for me personally, I feel like talking to people didn't really help me as much, in comparison to talking to myself, which is through this journal. Like, when I first started writing in a journal, I finally realized how kind of lifting it felt to kind of have this like burden off your chest. And not to say that your thoughts are burdens, because I always say that like thoughts are so beautiful, and the ability to kind of like formulate your own perspectives is such a gift. Thank you, life. But just being able to kind of like see it for yourself, and see where like look back at it, and like how your perspective changed, or how it kind of like added on, and it's just so lovely to me. Like, another thing that I was thinking about is that how everybody kind of has their own ways of dealing with their problems, and for me, a lot of it's just like a lot of heavy thinking, and a lot of like intuitive thinking. Like, I think that's like the best way I can put it, is that you have a feeling in your chest, and that kind of like makes its way up to your head. Y'all, I'm sorry, I hope I'm making sense, but and when you start to actually put those down on paper, it becomes like a real thought. And I think it's just so beautiful. Like, that's one of the reasons why in the future I want to go into writing and I want to go into literature, because I feel like I'm this person. I feel like just human thinking and gaining all these perspectives on the world really make a difference. And when you write that stuff down, like, it actually makes impact because your thoughts are actually really important and have meaning. So I think it's awesome. But let me just check something. Oh my gosh. I think, ooh. Okay. So far I was just checking what time it was because I think I've been in the park for quite some time. It's just so nice and so beautiful out here. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love it. Definitely being in the suburbs is much different than living in the city. Like, before, like, I'd have to, like, commute everywhere because I didn't have a car, and I don't have a car yet, even though I did pass my driving test, my permit test. But I feel like not having a car right now has kind of been like a blessing in disguise because I got a really nice bike, which I love so much. It's so cute. And it kind of really like helps me romanticize like living in the suburbs now, because I've always considered myself to be very like a city girl, quote unquote, because I love the activity and the kind of like beautiful chaos of living in the city. Like, everyone's always doing something and everyone has their own lives. It's just something that I always like love to be around and love to be part of. But then I feel like being in the suburbs kind of leaves you to be with your thoughts and think about things more. And all these people, I don't even know who's watching this, but if you live in the suburbs, like, you're probably like, girl, it's not that deep. But that's what I think, because I used to live in the city. So yeah, I like it. And I like literally bike everywhere. Like, it's so nice. I love just like admiring nature. Like, that's crazy. Like, I used to despise being in nature, but now I'm just like, dang, it's so beautiful. I love it. Okay, what are we getting into? Okay, so let me see. Oh, so I feel like this is gonna be. I don't want to make this video too long. I feel like this is kind of long. That's okay. Whatever. I'm gonna talk. So, there's another book I'm reading currently called My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. Moshfegh. I'm so sorry. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But it's basically about this woman who is kind of really successful in her life. Like, she graduated from a really nice school. She lives in New York City in a really nice apartment. She doesn't really have to worry about paying bills because her parents have kind of like handed that down to her. But she sleeps all the time. Like, as in, her day-to-day is just sleeping. And up until the point where I'm at the book, like, I'm almost done with it, it's just become such an unhealthy habit that she's built up. Like, she sleeps because, at least for me, I think that she hopes that if she sleeps enough, it'll kind of eliminate and transform her to be a different person after she's done sleeping. But she doesn't like sleep. She's not in a coma, but it's more like she just gets up, gets coffee from like this bodega. Really, really crazy. And her therapist is terrible. Like, prescribes her the craziest drugs to like help her sleep, because this main character, she tells her therapist that she has insomnia when she wants to sleep. So like this therapist is prescribing her like Infirmitorol and like, what is it? There's another one. Like, she has Adderall, Xanax, like all those crazy drugs, and she keeps on giving it to her. Terrible therapist on the phone. Crazy. But then it's not to the point where she's like, I feel like the story isn't really focusing on like the effects of drug usage, but more so the reasons or the intent behind it. Like, she sleeps all day and every day. And when I first was reading this, I caught myself kind of like a judgmental take on it. I was like she has so much, like, what is she complaining about? That's a terrible mindset. Like, no judging people. But she just finds comfort in watching life pass her by. And for me, that was such a crazy concept, because I think the complete opposite of that. I keep on looking there because I'm just like, whoa. Like, ugh, I don't want someone to be behind me. I'm just like, oh, scary. Anyways, Like, definitely one of the best outlooks that I've gained in life is not having it pass you by. Like, genuinely, I think so many opportunities and the happening is just in front of you. And if you choose to kind of just sit back and ignore it and not be a part of that, I think that that's something that I would never choose to do. I just think that life is so, so beautiful. And there's a song I listen to all the time from Life is Strange called Haven by Nova Amor. And I freaking love Nova Amor. Oh my gosh. Nova Amor is an amazing artist. Like, for a long time, like, I've been listening to him since, like, my freshman year. And before, I used to listen to him whenever I was doing my homework, like, trying to put on, like, a mood. And I was like, I'm so sad, I'm doing my homework. But now, it's just, like, he's just been, like, that main person I listen to all the time. Like, his music is really instrumental, and the lyrics you really have to, like, read again to understand. Like, but it's just, like, such an emotional connection. It's so good. Like, like, that song Haven makes me think, like, makes you look at life, and it's just, like, it's so beautiful, like, the nature and, like, interacting with other people and just everything about it. Like, it's so beautiful. Like, and why wouldn't you want to be a part of that? But I definitely recommend this book. It is something worth reading. It's definitely, I wouldn't want to say it's comical, but it's very dark at the same time, so if you're into that. I feel like another thing I want to do is kind of start offering, like, book recommendations, 'cause I feel like that'd be really fun to do. Like, I read a lot in my spare time, and a lot of the books that I read are very, like, introspective and self-actualization, or just really, like, understanding, like, mental health for other people, so I definitely think that that'll be really fun to do. But yes, this one's a must-read as well, so I recommend that very much. Okay, what time is it? How long have I been talking for? I've been talking for, like, close to an hour. That's kind of crazy. I hope that's fine. I hope you like this. But if you don't, whatever. We're just kidding. But I'm going to try to make better videos in the future and kind of improve. I think I'm going to keep my tiny mic because I really like it. Like, I got this from Amazon, and I was so hyped when it came in the mail. It even comes with, like, a little stand. Hold on, I'll show you. Ooh. It comes with this. So if I'm making a video, I don't know, on my bed, I can, like, put in this little stand. So cute. And it came with a little mic cover. I don't know if this helps with noise, but yeah. Oh, there's kids at a park. I think that's my sign to head out soon. But, okay. Okay, guys. So, thank you guys so much for watching my first ever video. And I really hope this topic was very interesting and very well thought out for you all. I think that change is just something that's so constant and never ending. And at times it can be beautiful, but at times it can be really, like, worrisome. So, my last piece of advice is just to kind of be a part of life and be a part of that change, and always be sure to kind of take things for the betterment of yourself and adjust that change. And yeah. Okay, bye guys.